Imagine living in a world where simply wearing the wrong color could end your career, or where dancing at the wrong time meant a jail sentence. Sounds dystopian, right? But this isn't a futuristic nightmare, it's real history. The past is littered with strange, forgotten laws that once shaped human lives in ways we now find absurd, even hilarious. At one point in time, in certain American towns, it was illegal to eat ice cream on Sundays, a part of strict blue laws meant to preserve the sanctity of the Sabbath. These laws also banned shopping, playing cards, even smiling too much in public, because joy was seen as sinful on Sundays. Some towns even shut the playground swings on Sundays, just to stop children from having fun. Because apparently, laughter was a threat to moral discipline. In 18th century England, men couldn't legally shave their beards without official permission, a tradition tied to class and social order. In Russia, during the reign of Peter the Great, beards were taxed, and if you refused to pay, soldiers would forcibly shave you in public. In China, during the Ming and Qing dynasties, wearing bright yellow or vibrant red was restricted only to the emperor and his court. For a commoner to wear those colors was to risk torture, imprisonment, or worse. And in many Islamic caliphates, chess was banned for centuries because it was seen as a worldly distraction from faith and worship. But the madness doesn't stop there. In Victorian Britain, public bathing on Sundays wasn't just frowned upon, it was considered a moral failure. Hygiene was sinful if performed on a holy day. In the Soviet Union under Stalin, owning jazz records or dancing to American swing music could label you a political traitor. Music wasn't just entertainment, it was ideology. Even having a haircut that looked too Western was dangerous. In 1930s Europe and America, women were literally arrested for wearing trousers. Trousers. Something half the global population now wears daily was once a ticket to jail. And if those same women dared to put on red lipstick? They were branded as immoral or, worse, accused of being prostitutes. Some cities had actual lipstick laws. Red lips meant you were soliciting. Imagine being jailed for a shade of color on your mouth. In colonial America, being single beyond a certain age meant paying a fine, the infamous bachelor tax, designed to force people into marriage to maintain moral order. In medieval Europe, being left-handed wasn't just a quirk, it was seen as a sign of the devil. Children were beaten in schools and churches until they learned to write with their right hand. The Latin word for left, sinister, literally gave rise to the word evil. Even chewing gum, yes, harmless, sticky gum, is banned to this day in Singapore under some of the strictest anti-littering laws in the world. Smuggling gum into the country can get you a fine, or even jail time. Imagine being imprisoned for orbit. It gets even stranger. In 19th century France, whistling in the streets could lead to arrest under disturbing the peace laws, as if joy itself needed regulation. In Japan's Edo period, falling asleep at work wasn't just lazy, it could lead to ritual humiliation. You'd be publicly shamed, marched through town with signs declaring your failure. And in ancient Rome, real grief at funerals was illegal unless performed by hired actors. Imagine being punished for crying at your own mother's burial unless someone paid you to do it. Emotions had to be staged, not felt. In some African kingdoms, even accidentally stepping on the king's shadow could be seen as an act of treason. Shadows were sacred extensions of royal authority. In Aztec society, wearing shoes inside a temple was punishable by death. In parts of Europe during the Enlightenment, novels, yes, simple fiction books, were banned, because leaders feared that imagination would corrupt the mind, especially of women. Reading romance was seen as dangerous. Too much fantasy, they believed, could turn obedient wives into rebels. In America during Prohibition, not only was alcohol illegal, even owning a cocktail recipe book could get you fined or raided. Bartenders had to memorize drink names in secret code, and hidden bars were guarded like fortresses. And during World War I, sauerkraut was renamed Liberty Cabbage because German words were suddenly illegal. The same went for dachshunds. People abandoned their pets just because they were too German. And yet, these weren't fringe laws, these were central tools of control. Tools used by religious institutions, monarchies, dictatorships, and democracies alike. They shaped behavior, suppressed individuality, and punished the innocent, often for nothing more than stepping outside the invisible box of normal. Even in the modern 20th century, people were jailed for riding bicycles on Sundays, or speaking their native language in public, a direct attack on cultural identity. Native American children in the US were forced into schools where speaking their tribal language meant a beating. In Australia, Aboriginal people were banned from swimming in the same pools as white citizens, not by social custom, but by law. We laugh now, but these rules destroyed lives. They were used to shame, silence, and subdue. Not because people were evil, but because societies believed, with terrifying certainty, that control was order and that difference was danger. And they always had a reason. A justification. A moral argument. They said it was for your soul. Or for the children. Or for tradition. Or security. And the people believed them because when a rule is old enough, it stops being questioned. It becomes normal. So here's the real question: what are we doing right now in our modern world that will look just as ridiculous in the future? Maybe the way we police online comments. Maybe our silent judgment of people who dress differently, love differently, think differently. Maybe our obsession with surveillance, or how easily we hand over our privacy in exchange for convenience. Maybe it's the way we ban books again. Or how algorithms quietly erase ideas they don't like. Maybe it's the silent social rules we never write down, but everyone obeys. Every generation thinks its rules are rational, logical, justified. But history tells a different story, one of shifting norms, irrational fears, and laws that only made sense until someone stood up and asked, why? Because change doesn't start with a protest. It doesn't start with a revolution. It starts with a question. A small, quiet, dangerous question. Why do we do this?